when we were talking to Chris, he was
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
Yeah, he
Um,
is.
but one of the things we asked is like, how did he think Guerrilla Rep was doing with multiculturalism and, you know, with this moment with Black representation or minority representation in theaters?
Mhm.
And he's like, I'm not the right one to answer this. I'm going to send you to one of my people.
Absolutely. Chris has always been good about making sure his company and the projects he does uh, is multiracial. Like, I mean, that's the basic word of it. Chris is about as may not be the right word. He's radical about that in the sense he feels it's important. It gives texture to the projects that he does, and you get, I think, his projects, but I think projects in general get a more fulfilling voice from different perceptives of race. Um, lovely enough, Chris knows that, and Chris understands that, and so that's why it's kind of very satisfying, satisfying to work with him, because he will get very irate, especially on that, on that theme, if there's not enough texture in it, especially if racially wise. So he's very good at that. That's why I enjoy working with him.
That's so important, especially right now as we're looking at theaters, you know, because as theater
Yeah.
paused, you know, a big magnifying glass
Yeah.
got on a lot of companies and, you know, saying they're trying to do diversity, but we all know that like rubber stamp they're hoping to get that says we're not a
Right.
racist company, but they're not putting in the work.
Yeah, I always thought that to be strange, but I think it just may be experience in general, because I think when you get enough different, races involved in a project, you get so many different voices and so many perspectives on the same material. Like how I would approach material would be totally different to like an Asian American or someone from the Bahamas or someone from Russia, because it's just different facets. And when you get stuck with one facet, I think you miss out on so much stuff. Just there's too much treasure that's not touched if you don't do that. And so I feel a lot of it, like what you were saying in regards to theater, I think it boils down to money. Like what really sells, and we're in a scary time where it's about money right now. That's how I feel it is. And so I hope we navigate this well and get to a place where theaters can be brave. It shouldn't be that way, but I think we're in a time where people have to be brave and brave enough that they have the financial support to do it. But
absolutely,
it's it's like what comes first, the egg or the chicken? Like how do you
do that?
How do you attack that? So
yeah, one of the other things we've noticed is that there's theaters out there trying to do the work, trying to put in the legwork, talking to Black people.
Right.
And there's other people who are just trying to get those figurehead Black, what's the term? It's kind of, I almost want to say paper tiger Black people, but that's not what I mean. But that's like kind of like a prop.
Right. I know what you're saying.
I didn't want to say token because that didn't sound right.
No.
But it's basically
you're totally right. You're absolutely right. And it's like, unfortunately, and sometimes the token is the gateway to opening it to a wider, I mean, it's like, you could say the same thing about Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson, quote unquote, more or less was the token Black guy, but he was so much more than that. And he had the opportunity to reveal how much more there was, and that's kind of, unfortunately, that's how it works in America, and you hope the person who's been put in that position is strong enough to push, the barriers just wide enough so that people, I hate to say this, are comfortable enough to feel that this particular group can do what they do. Unfortunately, powers in the highest positions possible have created such a divisive environment that right now it's survival mode, unfortunately.
Yeah,
That makes sense, I think, because we artists, I think in general, always have to kind of find new ways of navigating the environment, positive or negative. And so listening to you talk about it, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think through internet, I guess it does connect us more, and us trying to figure out how to make theater work on this level, it makes sense. I mean, for me, right now. It's been like I'm getting ready to do a reading on Wednesday, to which we're going to do Zoom wise. I think the ease of it is actually kind of cool. I think the only thing that you miss is just that live audience, people receiving what you're giving.
yeah.
Um, but I think it's pros and cons with everything. You know, like even the audition process. Like I think there's before, and I was discussing this with a colleague, that we were concerned that for the audition process, we like to be in the room with the people there. But then the convenience of the digital area is that you can audition anywhere you want. You don't
Yeah.
have to necessarily be in the room. And so actually that works more for me, because then I don't have to be in New York to do stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I can clearly answer the question. I think it's still a navigation, but I think I think it's a 50-50 right now. It probably will totally change, but right now it's a more of a 50-50 thing. But I do believe theater or whatever art form, I think now there's a more wider audience to be able to see this stuff now. So I think that
Yeah.
that is actually a very good thing. I don't, because tickets can be expensive, but now you can actually click on, and at this point, who knows, they may raise the prices, as we all know, but the freedom to be able to access stuff now is more. And so when things get better, maybe they'll have more of an impetus to go see what we've seen digitally. Don't know. We're like still at the beginning of like a very strange time in the middle of an election.
Oh.
What?
Oh my God.
November 3rd? Excuse me?
It's been a journey. I mean, one of the things we've run into is while we're writing this book, we were like, okay, we'll be done with this book before the year's out. And then something changes in digital theater, or somebody comes along with something new.
Or there's a union debate.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. I can't remember.
SAG. Oh my God.
Yeah, how is that? Like, what is that gonna be? Or is it like it's a mess, right?
It's a mess.
From what we talk to people is we've talked to people who make theater, people who run theaters, and we talk online with a lot of film people.
Yeah.
When what we understand is the biggest problem is that this is a squabble that should have been settled years ago. Because theaters have been putting stuff on YouTube or the internet forever. And but SAG-AFTRA still calls this a new media. The YouTube's been around for 16 years, but it's still a new media.
Right.
So it's one of these things where they should have staked out each other's territories and figured it out a long time ago.
Or shook hands and became friends. But now the people stuck in the middle, like we're friends with a small theater company in Ohio. And I mean, they're in Cincinnati, so they're in a big city, but they're on the smaller side. They're not like a Broadway.
Right.
Even for Ohio, they're not the big theater. And they're stuck in the middle because when they hire actors, they now have to figure out which contract to look at.
It's weird.
And which contract to use and who are they stepping on. And then is it AEA that's the one that says oh, you can't have an audience bigger than you would have had
normal theater?
And you're just sitting there you now have the whole world open to you, and you're gonna tell them not to have more people like that.
It's weird. Like I ran into that. I think, what was it? I had to do a reading, and it was, how the heck did it work? We did it Zoom, but then they wanted to do another play and record it, and that's when my SAG union thoughts kicked in. I can't do that because it's a recorded, but but where's the line between what Zoom is?
Yeah.
And so once again, interesting navigation. And so I'm, just carefully, well, I mean, obviously they'll probably figure it out, but I feel your pain, probably not to the degree that you guys are feeling it, but I feel it enough.
Well, for us, it's just more like being ringside to a fight you didn't even know. Like, imagine you were going to a Shakespeare play and a bear baiting thing came out, and you're like, "What in the world?"
Yeah.
Like, you knew that this happened,
right?
And like,
I don't think they've figured it out, literally, because I think it's just the Wild West right now until, who knows when this. First of all, when the COVID stuff is settled finally, I think they'll still be making rules until the end of the year. So
the end of next year, maybe even.
Yeah.
With like New York deciding to close down their theaters till next fall.
I know, which is
crazy.
That's a whole other thing.
I have a feeling none of the union rules, sorry to interrupt, will actually get settled until Broadway opens up. And they can try them out, because I have a feeling that's half the reason why Broadway is down.
You know what? You're right. Because they got to rewrite the rules.
If they can't come in with an audience, then they have to film. Then all of a sudden they're running headlong in these rights.
Yeah, it's a mess. And then they're crossing over into SAG territory.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other
thing.
Basket.
We actually were wondering, because everybody knows Hamilton's now on Disney Plus, and we were like, okay, how'd they get recorded? And then come to find out they're both SAG and AEA, and I was like,
so
they stopped everything to do an independent film shoot while they were currently running the show, and it's like,
they considered it two different things. Sorry, we will talk your ear off. We apologize.
No, it's fine. Hey, it's interesting conversation because, I mean, you guys are pretty much aware what's kind of happening right now digitally, and so it's good for me to hear and just get different perspectives on kind of the same crazy considering
my
universe.
Tell us more about your play. You can't just drop that you're doing a play in front of two reviewers and not expect to pick that back up.
Well, the first one is finished, and it's in the hands of a director and a producer that I trust greatly. So that process is beginning. It's called The Shames, and it involves the sonnets. It plays around the Shakespearean sonnets as well as Midsummer Night's Dream.
Really?
Yeah, if it's on the New Play Exchange, but also if I can, I could probably send you a copy if you want to read through it, something like that. If you want.
No, we love reading.
We love reading,
especially when
caught up on what people are doing.
Especially when somebody takes something we know and edits it. We'd love that. We live for like advancing stories and changing them up. So send it.
Okay, cool. I'll send that to you so you can have a look-see. And then the second one should be done November-ish, December-ish. It involves pharmaceuticals. See, there you go. So it plays around with that and mythology. So
Greek mythology or other mythologies?
Greek basically, but it dances around some other mythologies that kind of sneaks in there, and so it's been fun. And so Chris, when this is done, and Chris will be dramaturg on it, and so we can kind of
that's really cool.
Yeah, so it's been cool. So I got enough on the plate to keep me occupied while we navigate.